Welcome to another edition of Let's Fix, where we discuss problems and solutions to real-world web dev problems. So recently I had the opportunity to solve a problem that may not be common to most people. So if you ever deal with high traffic website, then this little technique might be useful to you. So the problem is that the website needs to do a polling to a server every 10 seconds. The website will display new contents depends on the result of this polling process. So imagine we have a website that does a polling for every 10 seconds. Imagine you have 10,000 people on your website at a given moment. That means you have 10,000 times 10, which is 100,000 requests every 10 seconds. So it's going to be very big, a lot of requests. It's going to be very hard on your server. Now, if you architect your system correctly in the back end, there should be no problem. But sometimes the traffic may explode to the level where you are unexpecting it. This is when you need to implement some sort of back-off algorithm in the front-end client side in order to prevent the problem from happening. So what is the back-off algorithm? The back-off algorithm, when it applies to this example, means the algorithm would check to see if the user's connection to the server is within a certain threshold. So every 10 seconds, it goes to the server. We track down how long does this request take. If the request takes more than, let's say, a second, then we'll mark this request as a slow request. So it will just keep doing that, and whenever we encounter this request as a slow request, we change the polling on the client side to double of what it was. So let's say every 10 seconds it makes a request, it goes to the server says this is a bad request. The client will update the polling to 20 seconds instead of 10 seconds. So this time, now you have much less requests to your server at a given moment. This will help alleviate some pressure on the back end. So here's I have an example application here to show you how this works. Let's say on the first request, it's a bad request. It takes 1 second to get to the server, which will extend the polling interval to 4 seconds. Let's say we start the app with 2 seconds. This will extend it to 4 seconds. The next request is a good request. Since it's under 1 second, then the interval will stay the same. 4 seconds later, same thing happened. Stays the same. 4 seconds later, the request takes 1 second, which is bad. So the algorithm will extend the polling to 8 seconds. Now 8 seconds later, it's another bad request. Now the algorithm will extend it again to 16 seconds. And it goes on and on until it reaches a certain threshold. So this is basically what the back-off algorithm does. On the client side, it helps delay the polling if the server has an issue. So let's take a look at the code and see how this is implemented. The code is a very simple code. We have some variables up here. The default polling time is how long the app will poll the server from the start. So the default is 2 seconds. Every 2 seconds it goes to the server. The maximum request timeout time is how long is, like, what is the threshold for the request. If the request is 1 second or greater, then this is no good. If it's under 1 second, then it's okay. The timeout threshold, it's an interesting piece, is basically whenever this always double every time there's a bad request, this will never exceed 30 seconds. 30 seconds is the max we want to do. So you can use these. Our app is very simple. It's just a function called polling, and it basically does a jQuery AJAX request to the server. Now, we had to get the request time, meaning how long this request takes. The way you can do it is before you do the AJAX request, you set a variable to the current time. And then you set another variable to the request time is the time after the request to the server has finished, minus the starting time, which is before you do the AJAX. This will give you the request time, how long did our request takes. Now, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to simulate our request time by randomizing that number between 996 and 1002. So this will give us a time between those two numbers, just to simulate. Now here is the heart of the algorithm. This algorithm here, it's basically a translation of what I said earlier. It looks at the request time. If it's over our threshold, which is 1 second, then we need to set the polling time to be equal to the current polling time times 2. I'm using local storage to store the polling time, so it will remember. Now basically here's where it times 2. You could add your own parameter, do maybe plus 500 or something, but I'm just doing a exponential back-off algorithm. Now if the polling time is it's greater somehow, greater, because when you do multiple of 2, sometimes it gets greater than the threshold limit. Then you just set it to whatever the threshold is. This will ensure that it will not go over the threshold. And then you just output some of the statuses for these texts here. Make sure to call xhr.abort. This will make sure the connection closes to the server, and the server will not leave any open connections. And then you just return it early. And you should also apply this logic to the failed callback promise here, just in case like the server returns a error message. And the always callback, it just calls itself again. This will make this always call every few seconds. So it's a real simple algorithm, and I know it looks a bit confusing at first, but if you take the time to read it, you should understand it. I also have an article accompanied this video. You should read it, and I'll put it in the description below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know what you think, and let me know if it helped you in your web dev career. Make sure to subscribe to my videos and like my videos. Thank you, appreciate it. Bye.